computer. Hello, everyone. It's Becky Mossbrucker here with the Stronger Together Tribe podcast. On this episode, we're going to be speaking to Rita Desnoyers-Garcia, and we have so many topics to talk about that we're going to do multi-parter. So, you ladies and people, stay tuned to what's coming up next. But today, we're going to talk about how she can help professional people with their dreams. And I will let her explain how we're going to talk about that. So welcome, Rita.
Thank you, Becky. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
So tell me, first of all, how did you decide to make this topic a business? And then tell me how long you've been doing it.
Okay, great question. So I have been a social worker since the 90s. I started doing coaching in 2009 because I went through my own train wreck of a experience, not a literal train wreck, but my own emotional, I don't know if it was a breakdown, but driving off the road, if you will. And I started doing coaching, receiving coaching, and then seeing the power of it. I had been in therapy for years and years before that, and I was learning and coaching things that I never learned in therapy in a very short period of time. So I started working with moms for what I learned, it literally in my living room. And we did that for a number of years. And then a couple of years ago, I hit another brick wall, if you will, around feeling really depressed. And I couldn't figure out why. And I had all of the tools that I had learned up to that point that I was helping other people use. Just couldn't shake it, couldn't figure out why. And I had heard through a friend about these tools, these audio tools that were really helping her. They sounded a little like hypnosis. They had some cognitive behavioral things in there, but she just swore by them. And I was just like, all right, oftentimes we don't do things unless we're desperate. You know what I mean? So I was just
Yeah.
like, I am desperate enough that I'm open to trying anything at this point because I just feel lousy and I don't know why. So she's like, yeah, sure. So she introduced me to the woman who worked with her. Her name is April Adams, a wonderful person. And she had these audio tools. So being a coach, the first thing that goes through my mind is, oh, maybe I can help other people with this. But at that point, to be honest, I was like, I don't care about anybody else. I need this for me. And also I wouldn't try anything out that I haven't tried myself anyway, with other people. So I was just like, this is all about me. And she had a lot of questions for me. And I just said, look, I'm going to do it. Let's just do it. Caution to the wind. I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to do what I need to do because that's how bad I feel. So with these tools, what she did basically was she helped me to understand what I was thinking and what I was believing that made me feel so depressed, right? So some of the tools that she used, which I use now, are literally just about helping you decrease the negative emotion. Because we all have negative emotions and they're not bad at all. But what happens, we get stuck when when we're in a loop of negative emotions, right? Some people call it spiraling. Some people call it being in a bad mood. Emotions are always there to help us, to help guide us. But if you're in a loop for an extended period of time, you're no longer being guided. You're stuck and you're miserable and you're depleted, your energy's depleted, and you have a very limited view of what your options are, right? So one of the tools that she introduced me to was just for when I feel those really strong negative emotions: fear, depression, frustration, anger, irritation. So I spent quite a bit of time just bringing the temperature down, right? Because there are certain parts of your brain that are activated when you have very intense emotion, and they don't necessarily help you make great decisions,
All right.
right? So I spent some time just using that tool, and doggone if it didn't help. So it helped me just to calm a little bit. And then sometimes that's all I needed. And I could make a decision. I would get some clarity, or I would be able to make a decision, or I would just get off the couch, be able to do things that could help my body do what it needs to do to feel better. So I did that with her for a while. Then she said, okay, the reason you're having all these negative emotions over and over and over again, like sometimes these audios are not helping you just let go of that emotion, is because you're believing something. And you may not even know exactly what you're believing, but we're going to start with what could be, and then we're going to go deeper. So the other thing I love about these tools is that it's layer by layer. And I think that's important because sometimes when we make big sudden changes, it's like almost too much for us.
Right.
Right? It's like when
Yep.
people start going, I'm going to start eating healthy, and then they eat like celery for 3 weeks, and then they feel depleted and they go back. So
Yep.
it's like we need time to kind of, it's like putting the clean water into the dirty tub. Like sometimes it takes time, and that's good. That's okay. So what I noticed is that I would have like I would say something like, I would have a belief like, I don't know what I'm doing, right? So I would do a track on that belief. And then I would notice I just didn't believe it so much anymore. It didn't cling to me anymore, or I wasn't clinging to that. And sometimes that was, once again, all I needed to be able to not have the negative feelings, and I was free and it was great. And then other times it would lead to me like, well, I don't necessarily believe that anymore, but now this other belief has come up, right? Which is, I don't deserve this or something like that. And then I would do some audios on that. And then I go, wow, and then there's something underneath that. So it depends on what was going on for me, which was uh, that would determine the results I had. Like, are there many layers to this? Okay, let's remove them like an onion. Let's remove the layers. But each time I would get insight, I would feel more relaxed. I would tap into things that I didn't know existed. And here's the other thing that I found amazing, Becky, was that I had new choices, choices that I could not see before. Things like maybe I could do that thing. Oh, oh, I didn't even consider that. Or people would show up differently. I would get an email. I would perceive things differently. This is how programmed we are, is
Yep.
that when you believe something, that's what you focus on. There's literally a part of your brain that will focus on what you believe and negate and dismiss everything else. So if you're believing something, that is really what you're seeing and what you're creating. So, because if you only see one thing, you're going to kind of create in that direction. If you're believing something else, you're going to ignore that thing and you're going to create in this direction. Does that make
Right.
sense to you what I'm
Yep.
saying? And
Yep.
I've seen that materialize in all different ways personally and with other people. I have a friend who went on a trip with someone. She's a pretty happy-go-lucky person. Her friend, not so much. Always looking for what's going wrong. They
Yeah, I
went,
have some of those.
right? They went to a beautiful European city. They were both sitting in a cafe, right? And my happy-go-lucky friend is like, oh, this is great. Sitting in my cafe. I've ordered my drink. I've ordered my croissant. This is so wonderful. Her friend, on the other hand, is going, what's taking the waiter so long? I don't like the noise in here, right? These tables are dirty. And guess what? My friend who was happy-go-lucky, the waiter came right away, no problems. My friend who was not so positive, the waiter came and literally dropped the tray,
Oh no.
right? Because my friend like got up and then
Uh,
and so my happy-go-lucky friend is telling me this example, and she goes, I finally realized that we create
yep.
some of these things in our life because we're like literally like attracting them. And now I'm not victim blaming here. I'm not saying it's your fault, blah 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 blah, because
Right.
we've all had good and bad and ugly happen in our lives. But what I'm saying is, what are you paying attention to?
Right.
What state of mind are you in? That is going to dictate how you respond, how you interpret, what you perceive, what you create in your life. Because there are some people who are born in great disadvantage, but their attitude and their vibe is so positive that they are able to overcome great hurdles. And others who are born with a very, what I would call a very privileged hand, who are so negative for whatever reason, and they just, that's what they gravitate to. That's what they talk about. That's what they're living. And sometimes you're just kind of like, are you serious? Really? That's what you're gravitated to? So I'm a little all over the place here, but what I'm trying to say is the work, when you can change your beliefs, what you're actually believing, not like, you know, well, I'm a Christian or I'm like, there's so much more underneath there. Like most people, when they think beliefs, they think religious beliefs, political beliefs. There's so much more underneath all that stuff. It's how much, how much money do I deserve? Is it good to have money? Is it bad to have money? What kind of spouse do I deserve? All men are terrible. Like these are like the stuff underneath that we don't pay attention to, that's underneath the water of the iceberg, that whole
Yeah.
paradigm of there's an iceberg, you only see about 20-30%, the rest is under the water. That's what I'm talking about. How to get to that stuff that's really driving the car, really
Right.
motivating you in what you're experiencing, how to get into there and how to change it so that you're much freer, you're much more powerful, you're much more present, and you got options. You got options more than you can even understand.
I think it's funny that people don't realize that what comes out of their mouth brings about things
Yeah.
happening, just like your friend's negative friend, right? Yeah. Sometimes I'll say something out loud and then I have to stop and I go, "Oh, I didn't mean that." You might think it at the moment, like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so overwhelmed with all this work at work and nobody's helping me and that girl over there, she's not doing nearly the amount of work that I'm doing and I'm so stressed out." You're la, 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 and I'm like, "What in the?" Because I'm not normally a negative person.
Right.
But when you're stressed, you're stressed.
Yeah.
And you start saying those things out loud, and I have to stop myself and go, "Wait a minute, we're not doing that. Back up, take all that back, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
let's profess something positive, and I'll say, well, I'm a good worker. I work hard when I'm here. I don't want to start pointing the finger at other people and going, well, that person over there, they take 15 breaks a day and they
Right.
shouldn't be allowed to do that. Who cares? Just concentrate on you, do your thing, do your job, do it well,
Yeah.
and move on. Just don't worry about everybody else and what they're doing and who's getting what and who's not getting. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah.
You need to, I mean, unless, I saw something really terribly happening, then I would be like all over it because I'm the one with the mouth. I'm the one who will be like, hey, I'm the mama. So we all have nicknames at work. I'm the mama bear, and I am 100%. If I see something that I think is unjust, I will speak up right away. And everybody knows it, and I think they'll be glad when I retire because I can be pretty loud and pretty vocal about it. Then we're all in cubicles, so you see them putting their headphones on because Becky's coming out with some kind of a rant. But it's usually, you know, something. Of course, I would think, well, no, I'm not saying well deserved because I'm not yelling at a person. I'm yelling at a system that seems to be broken.
Mm.
Like this person shouldn't be able to do that when this other person can get away with it, and why, that kind of stuff. I don't yell at people. I yell at situations. But
Right.
anyway, I have got to learn to stop myself and say, nope, turn whatever that negative thing is into something positive because I've had a business coach for years when I started my business, and that was one thing that she would say too, is be like, be careful what you say and because things happen. And I'd be like, that I didn't believe that for years. I'm like, this is crazy, but I believe it now. So
Well, yeah, one of the things, the common themes that I noticed, and I've talked to other people about this, is we believe and we perpetuate things, whether they're emotions or beliefs, because we believe this will keep us safe. A lot of it's about safety. And a lot of the reasons why people don't change behavior or don't even want to change what they believe is because they think they will be unsafe.
Oh,
So,
okay.
so if I complain, I'm safe. If I say my piece, I am safe. If I fight for injustice, I am safe. Like these come from long histories, things that you may or may not even remember where you were safe, you survived because you did this thing, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, okay, you did this to survive. Is it helping you thrive? It's a reevaluation. I call it my kitty pajamas. Like I do things, I love my kitty pajamas. When I was a kid, they made me feel safe and warm and cozy.
Yeah.
But at some point, they stop fitting. You can't even get them over your feet, and they're not functioning well anymore. So it's not that they're bad, they just don't fit anymore. So what's going to be your new pajamas or your new nightgown, or maybe you're going to go naked? I don't know. But what's the new thing that you want to do? And then there's always a little bit of a resistance to that because will it keep me safe? And what I have learned is that things that make you thrive do actually help with your safety. They're not unsafe to do. They actually make you stronger and more empowered. And that is always going to be in your favor in terms of safety because you can respond differently. You can come from a more present place. And when you feel like you're really safe, you just show up differently. You you emanate an energy into the room that says, don't mess with me.
Yep.
I have a boundary, right? So you do you, Becky. I'm not going to tell you what to do. If what you've been doing isn't working for you anymore, I'm just saying it's a possibility that you can be just as safe and just as fair and just as just, but you're going to come from a different place, a different energy when you're doing it. In other words, there's an old Buddhist saying that says, before enlightenment, I carried water and chopped wood. And after enlightenment, I carried water and I chopped wood. It just means you're kind of doing the same thing, but why you're doing it and how you're doing it is going to be different because what you're holding inside yourself as what you believe to be true is going to be different. Does that make sense?
I think, yeah, absolutely. I think we need to learn to approach things differently. You
Yes.
might have the same outcome, you might have the same response, but maybe that response needs to just come out in a different manner, something quite not so abrasive, not from a place of anger. So, yeah, no, I can totally see that.
Yeah. And then in a lot of ways, you're able to persuade more people, right? There was a woman, I remember I lived in New York City for a long time, and there was a woman, God bless her, who would stand on the corner and she had different causes. And one of her causes was how terribly women were treated in pornography. I agree.
Oh,
Like, it's not good, right? Not a good thing. And she would hold up posters, very graphic posters, and be shouting something. And everyone avoided this woman.
oh,
She was all she wanted were people's named on a petition, and she was fighting and she was earnest, but she was so loud and kind of scary that no one was like, all right, it's just the lady who's yelling, right? And she'd have a different cause, different times. I think she was kind of working against herself. I thought if she wasn't so angry, just the anger emanating, she kind of would have made more, if she was more, she had a different approach, then maybe she would have actually attracted more people to her cause because her cause was real and it was important. But I think she had a lot of anger that had nothing to do with the cause. It was just filtered through the cause, and people could feel that. And they were like, oh, it's the lady, you know? And I'm not saying you're like that at all, but I think about her a lot because I was like, wow, this woman is fighting a battle she can't even talk about.
yeah.
But everyone is like, ugh. So it's just a different way, different approaches that are going to attract different people. But
So
you're
how do you tell professional women to pursue their dreams
Yeah.
in a fashion that maybe, well, I don't want to say that. How do you tell them how to um, promote their dreams that they want against all odds, or, if somebody
Yeah.
else is maybe not for them? What do you tell
Yeah.
them to do?
So one of the things I talk about is, and I've experienced this myself, when we have a dream, whatever it is, what we're really saying is, how do I become the type of person who achieves this? Who am I becoming in this? Wow, if I had a successful business, an amazing relationship, a ton of money, whatever it is that they want to achieve, I need to become the person that does that. In other words, what are the qualities that, why do I want it? Like, that's a good question. Why do I want this? How do I want to feel? Right? Well, I want to feel, when I think of making X amount of money, I feel safe, I feel secure, I feel empowered, I feel at peace. I feel like I have options. What you're saying to yourself is, I want to feel this way. And my mind's coming up with, what do I need to achieve in order to feel that? Right?
Yep.
What they don't tell you, whatever, society doesn't tell you, is that if you want to do that, you got to feel that now.
Right.
So, what are you believing that's preventing you from feeling that now? So, that's a question to ask yourself. So, is it, I can only feel secure if I have X amount of dollars, or I only can feel at peace if this and this happens? If everything is qualified like that, it's time to go, no, I got to feel it now. What do I need to do to feel this now? And it could be that there are other areas of your life where you feel it and you focus on that. You just bring in that feeling as much as possible. If you have, it's really good to know what your beliefs are as much as you can. So even asking yourself, what am I believing right now that's telling me I can't feel this way right now? Well, this is happening and that's happening, and I can't feel peace unless this and this happens. Or I don't even know if I deserve this. I really want this money, but I don't know if I deserve it. Right? So that's, whoa, that's something to dig in on.
Yep.
You don't deserve it. What's going on?
Yep.
Right? Or no one should be able to make, or people who have that amount of money are this. That's a big one for people. I want more money, but people who have money, they're not good, or they're not spiritual, or they're not fill in the blank. Those are things to know. And then I would say, find whatever you can, whether it's audio tracks or a coach or whatever, to help you change those beliefs. There are a million options out there, not just audio tracks. That's the ones that worked for me, like really, really well. But there are other ways to do it. So I would say, think about what you want. Sometimes that's a challenge for women. I don't know what I want anymore. I'm so focused on everyone else, I don't even know what I want. So spending some time with what would be nice. How do you want to feel? What's preventing you from feeling that way right now? What are you believing? Get some support. Because that's another thing. There's sort of this idea that everyone does it on their own. We have the rugged individualism, which is a beautiful thing. But most people have mentors, coaches, friends, support groups, communities that feed them and help them, because you're gonna have wrinkles and bumps and obstacles. That's part of the journey of becoming who you really are. That's part of the journey, is overcoming obstacles. And it's much harder to do it on your own.
Yep, I can understand that.
Yeah. Because you
I
get
can
in your
totally
own
see.
head. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think that coaching or mentoring or having a friend or community is really just like getting your hair cut. I know a lot of people who cut their own hair. My kids do it all the time. I would never dare cut my own hair. It would be a disaster. It took me longer, and I'd probably start crying, especially in the back. So if you have someone who has more of a 360 view and knows kind of what they're doing, It helps so much more. It's
I
easier.
actually was I was actually wondering, and I should look in my local area to see if there are like counselors for like newly retired people, or you know how like they'll have people who will talk to the military folks when they get out of the military to
Yeah.
transition them to civilian life.
Yeah.
I wonder if there are coaches out there who do that for
Yes.
working people going into retirement, because I haven't run across any,
Yes.
not that there aren't any, I just haven't heard of any yet. Because there are a lot of friends I know, of course, that are my age that are thinking about retiring or just did retire, and they don't find a purpose. It's like they're just taking up space. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
No, there are
Especially
so many things I
nowadays.
want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And this, I think our generation, I count myself in that generation. We're healthier, we're living longer,
Yep.
we want to do more stuff. Um, so yes, there are absolutely coaches who specialize in men and women who are getting into that next chapter of their life. I can hook you up, Becky.
Oh,
Uh,
good. Yeah, yeah. Send me some names because I would love to interview them.
yeah, if you're on LinkedIn especially, I
Yep,
know people
I
who
am.
can help you with that. They're
Okay,
yeah,
cool. I've got another friend who was talking about the same thing, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So now all these people, are getting attracted to me in this topic about retirement. And I'm like,
yeah.
I've got to do something with this group of people. We're all in the same boat. We've got to find somebody who can speak to us about our mindset in retirement. So I
Yes,
finally got it narrowed down into a niche. Now I got to find a person to talk to us.
absolutely. And maybe even, I mean, we call it retirement, but maybe there's even another word you want to use. My next chapter, my
There you
best,
go.
my greatest chapter ever, my freedom, whatever you want to call it, because retirement has, like a lot of words, has a lot of
Yeah.
baggage attached to it.
You're right. You're right. Retirement sounds like you're sitting on the porch in the rocking chair doing nothing for the
It's
rest of your
like,
life.
right, it's like the word empty nester, right? I am a empty nester. And then I was listening to a podcast where they're like, can we stop calling it that? Call it something else.
Yep. I have some friends who are doing that too. We're talking about that yesterday.
Yep.
They're
These are
like, I don't know
all,
what
how
we're
do I
gonna
do that
do.
new chapter?
Yep.
How do I put those new pajamas on? What do those new pajamas look like?
That's good. I like that. Maybe that's what I'll call my next podcast. My new pajamas. And people will be like,
Yeah.
what?
What? What the heck is that? I just like
Oh man.
pajamas, so yeah.
I love that. That's perfect. Alrighty, we're gonna run so we can both get to other meetings. So, I really appreciate having you on. This has been great because now I've got some other things to think about. Um, and I would love for you to come back and do some more talks on some other topics. So we will schedule that out. Any
Thank you
last
so
words you
much.
want to leave with our listeners?
I would say get excited for who you're becoming as you go forward towards your dreams.
Love that. I'm going to use that as a tagline on this video, just so you know.
Excellent.
All right. We'll see you guys, everybody later, and everybody take care. And thank you, Rita, for being on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Becky. I appreciate it as well.
All right. See you guys.